listening to
Split the Defense,
a Toronto Maple Leafs, Colorado Avalanche, and NHL podcast. Hosted by Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans.
Split the Defense
Is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas.
Welcome to Split the Defense Hockey Podcast. I'm Webby, alongside CP and producer Ted, welcoming listeners from the greater Kingston area as we broadcast here from the Chumley's Kingston Tower of Power on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, CJAI, and CJAI.CA. So we get set to chat about the Maple Leafs and the Avalanche, the top stories around the hockey world. But before we get started, please take a second, drop a like on this episode, subscribe to our YouTube, rate it 5 stars on whatever podcasting platform you're consuming from. So let's kick it off with the Leafs, the biggest news around the NHL world, in my opinion, right now. I mean, there was a outdoor classic that was pretty interesting, but the biggest news for us Leaf fans here: Ilya Samsonov placed on waivers by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he cleared waivers today. So he will assign now to the Marlies. Who gave me this information? It says David Alter tells me that Sheldon Keefe hasn't ruled out playing Jones for both games, but the Leafs have called up from the AHL Dennis Hildeby, and he may get an NHL game in. Now Samsonov going down to the minors now after he's cleared now doesn't guarantee that he's going to just go there and play games. They're actually going to work with him on and off the ice to get his confidence and game back, as per Elliot Friedman. So that's huge news. Dennis Hildeby to wear number 41. There's a back-to-back coming up this week in California. Do we think he gets a start, CP?
Yeah, I could almost guarantee it. I think that they're only not saying it so we don't all go insane about which game he's going to get and stuff like that, but they wouldn't have made this move if they weren't going to play him. He's not going to sit on the bench, and I would almost think that he might get the first one just because he's hot coming off of it in the AHL. Don't really want him to think too much, so I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get the first one, but I think that's how I would play it, and just kind of see it from there. And then if he does well, then maybe you give him a second one on this trip or what. But yeah, I'd almost guarantee we're gonna at least see him.
Yeah,
see,
I'd have to agree. That. But I think it would be the other game. I would agree that it's the other game that he plays.
You think it's
a
get
him in, warm him up.
Yeah,
I think he's playing on a back-to-back. I don't think they're going to run Jones twice.
Yeah,
no,
me neither.
Even though they're talking about it, they mention it. You don't think it's probable? I mean, it's improbable, right? No, not a lot of teams play that way.
But this is a unique situation, of course.
But it is certainly unique.
Yeah.
I would just think it'd be weird to just if you're just bringing him up just to give him the NHL experience, unless a trade is coming right now. I think that there was no reason to send down Samsonov then if you're just not going to play your backup, because then Samsonov can just sit on the bench, right? Why would you, and if you're pulling on your goalie and putting Samsonov in as a backup, then your game's probably over anyway. So I only see this going away, and he's at least playing one.
Oh, yeah. I'm absolutely hyped now, boys. I did not think there was you guys oh yeah, he's definitely playing. I was thinking Jones will probably play both. He's gonna come up, get some NHL pay because he's done well, and they recalled Luke Kavalin from the Growlers, so he's gonna come play goalie for Marlies. I was thinking I don't know, maybe he'll just sit on the bench. Somebody has to sit on the bench. I was thinking maybe this is more about Samsonov having to go down. Right. And get that work in, take some time, because you can't go on LTIR for mental health, and that's basically what this has come down to. He just needs conditioning and some work on his mental health, I guess is what it is. But I was really not sure if Hildeby play a game. Now after you guys talking, I'm really leaning towards the fact I think Dennis Hildeby may actually see a game. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And the first one too, especially because he's hot. Yeah, and it might make sense. Although they might just try to take a little bit of the pressure off, because it's Toronto, although they are playing at West. I don't know, maybe I think they just might let him come sit on the bench, get acclimated to the place, settle in, get used to the boys, and then play on the second time, right? Because he's gonna need a
that's
couple
what
of
I'm thinking.
games, sit on the bench a couple of games, help. Maybe he might get a practice in, and
Yep.
then he'll get a game.
There's
But,
definitely benefits to both, right? Like I could see where you could make the argument of getting settled in and like that seems like beneficial, right? But also to maybe get them right in there and not make them sit and watch and get the nerves going. Like I don't know, I see
True.
like both ways could be beneficial. So I don't think it really matters, but I think one way of looking at it is maybe if you put them in the second game, then you get a better showing from your team on a back-to-back, because I would be so mad at this team if they don't show up for this goalie. Like he seems like he's like, I don't want to get too hyped about him, but he's might be a goalie of the future, right? Like if we were just here to have a guy sit on the bench, they would have brought up Keith Petruzzelli, who hasn't been doing well for the Marlies, and you wouldn't stunt this guy's kind of development because he's been playing so well in Hildeby. So I think that like he's playing. I just really hope the boys show up, and I'm hoping it's the first game just so like there's even more intensity from the team.
Continuous momentum. Now these goalies are going to be used to sitting. He played, I believe it was Sweden last year, but this year in the AHL they only play on the weekend, so he's used to sitting for extended periods of time and not coming in necessarily. He may sit 5, 6, 7 days at some points because the way that it works. But I think that, absolutely, he might as well stay on that trajectory of trying to play every 5 days or 6 days. And if that's how it works out for him to be the first game, and it ends up being more like a 7 or 8, and it makes more sense, then I could see them absolutely playing him the first game. Because both the back-to-backs, they are San Jose, right? Am I correct in that?
My brain's too foggy at the moment to remember this.
So anyways, like it's either San Jose or it's Anaheim. I don't think it's back to back. Like I don't think the back to back. I think LA's first. So right, yeah. So then it's going to be a back to back against a weaker team, which is my whole point, my whole argument. So I think that it makes sense to maybe play him against the weaker team on the back to back as well. So both
Anaheim's
arguments,
the second,
yeah. So both arguments make sense. Play him while he's hot, but also potentially wait and play him against the perceived weaker team, because LA is definitely not a weak team.
No, definitely not. And like I feel like Anaheim gets they do put pucks on net, so like it might actually be a good team for him to play, because maybe not as many high danger chances, but still pucks towards the net to get familiar. The worst would be if he has to face 15 shots in a game. Like I'd rather him face 30 and they be like 30 consistent
real
throughout the periods. Like you don't want a goalie that, well, not even just a real test, but just like not a mind game. Like I find that the worst games for goalies are when you don't have a lot of shots, but they're really high danger shots, right? And that's when the goalie might be in his own end for like 5 minutes and not get a shot, and then the next one goes in way more higher percentage than if you just like have kind of a consistent flow of maybe not the hardest shots to face, but shots on net at least.
That's a good point. And I'd like to hear from our listeners too. Anyone listening on YouTube or anywhere you can comment, let us know, to Hildeby or not to Hildeby.
That is the question. So moving on here, I have a few tweets from a few of my favorite follows, I guess we could put it there, on Twitter here, and sure well known, and they all have pretty much the same opinion, and I was really feeling this, but I couldn't put it into words so much as these 3 tweets have for me. So I'm going to read out the first one. It's from @TavMarnieThews, which is actually CJAI, I think. It's Jen. So it says, does anyone else get the feeling that maybe the Leafs shouldn't be huge buyers at the deadline? It's been a lingering feeling for me. Like, it sucks saying that because we're essentially wasting an incredible year from 34 and 88, but there's just too many holes on this roster that need to be filled. The coach reassured me of things I already felt, and that this coach isn't the guy to lead this team anywhere. We will make the playoffs, but my expectations are far lower than previous years, and honestly, maybe that's a good thing, so I won't get my heart completely broken for the millionth time. Then we move on to Banksy, which is @Banks_Leaf. He says, Leafs might have pissed away their chance at home ice in round 1 with this stretch of games. So frustrating watching the team before the stretch and believing, but now it's hard to rationalize big moves to supplement this team. Make your minor move and reassess in the offseason. Then we go to Williston Rylander, which is I can't even remember. It starts in Nylander. I can't remember what it is. It's another one of those, but great follows here. This says, after last night's game at 5v5, the Leafs are down to 18th in expected goals percentage and 21st in goal share. Feels a lot like the 2019-20 season, and it might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not sure if going all in like last year's deadline is worth it with this team. I don't think they're off, honestly. I had this kind of feeling like something's not quite right. Maybe they're just a piece away, but maybe you just need to be better before you're just a piece away. I think there's too much going on with these guys to warrant going out and spending major assets to make a shakeup for one or two guys. I just don't see that changing the whole culture of the team and changing the way that this team is. And it scares me a little bit because I want them to be successful. I just don't know in my heart of hearts whether this whole group has it. I know if you guys are having great years, I'm just not sure it's worth spending on this particular group.
I probably could have told you this in the summer, just based on we had a GM switch and now the whole plan changes for a team. And Dubas has been a guy that always goes out, and I guess you could say he's just following Brendan Shanahan's orders. But Brad Treliving in history is a guy who goes and gets his one or two guys really early. Like when he went and got to Foley, that was a guy everyone was talking about at the deadline. And then he gets traded. I forget when it was, but it was like December or January or something. So he is a guy that Brad Treliving's a guy that goes out and gets guys early. So I wouldn't disagree with them based on the performance of the team, but based on the GM coming in, it's his first year. And with his history, he makes either like big blockbuster trades or just like a few. He normally goes and gets a good guy, though. He's not someone like Kyle Dubas who would come and get like a bunch of guys in the system that are just going to fill in a just in case situation. He's going to go and get someone to improve the lineup, and ideally comes in earlier to get better acclimated to the team. So I'd say that was probably his plan at the beginning of the year. And people are thinking for other reasons that maybe that will happen, but I think that was kind of, if you would ask Brad Treliving, I think he would say he's not going to make all these crazy moves and draft capital at the deadline.
Yeah, no, that's some pretty good insight, CP. I like the way you put that it's probably been the plan the whole time, and all of us Leafs fans are stuck in our own heads about it, because really that's how we get, right? Like we every year think that this is the all-in year. This is the year. We do have Austin Matthews in his prime, so you think this is the time. But maybe this team, after assessing into the new year here now, I'm not quite sure that this group has it. Unless they can prove otherwise in the next month, 6 weeks, I honestly wouldn't disagree with them just doing whatever they do. And if they can luck out a round, then that's awesome. If they get through two, I would be absolutely stunned, but it would make a whole lot of sense for what I've seen in the league the last few years. Crappy teams seem to just go on runs near the playoffs sometimes and like figure it out. I don't even say crappy, like mid teams. And you can't tell me that Florida wasn't a mid team when they went into the playoffs last year. Then they went on air on.
They're a playoff team
right
now.
Montreal Canadiens, exactly. But I wonder if the Leafs are maybe more of a playoff team. We haven't seen it. We don't know. Florida didn't fare very well in the regular season. They did before, but that was with a totally different group of people and a different style coaching, right?
Yeah.
That was without Paul Maurice on the bench. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Maybe they're built for the playoffs. Maybe that's what it is.
And one factor too with always going for it at the deadline is typically with where your star players are in their contracts. And so like when we talk about Edmonton, where they have two star players that they have to keep, but their contracts are coming to an end, right? And so like they have to go for it because they don't want those players to leave. The only player we really cared about sticking around is Austin Matthews. You know, like the other guys, like Willie, he wants to be here, I guess, but like he might actually end up getting traded. And the more we talk about the identity of Brad Treliving, I feel like that might be the direction it goes. But like John Tavares isn't going anywhere if we don't want him to, and Mitch Marner's not going anywhere if we don't want to, and Austin Matthews just signed a new contract. So if Brad Treliving decides that this isn't the year to push all chips in, like he's not losing any of the players that he has because of that choice, right?
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, you're absolutely right that it's possible that Nylander gets traded. Wow, crazy. So I just want to jump back into the last thing I have here about the last game. Keefe scratched David Kampf. And more on this is David Kampf's wife posted on Instagram that he was actually on his own mini Ironman streak. He'd played 323 consecutive games.
Oh.
He pulled an absolute Babcock on that one. And to place the blame solely on him just absolutely doesn't make sense. I have a couple more tweets here. One is from Jen again. Another one is from Fish, which I absolutely am not proud of repeating, but he makes a point. So Jen says he wasn't scratched for his production. Everyone knows he doesn't provide offense. He was scratched for an uncharacteristic mistake, which we watch our $10 million guys make on a weekly basis with no sort of benching or even simply missing a period. That's the problem. And then Fish, which, God, I hate myself for agreeing with Fish. This guy's terrible, but he's got a point. Keefe's new accountability approach saw the core four play in the following loss. Marner, 22 minutes time on ice, no points, -1. Matthews, 22 minutes time on ice, no points, -1. Nylander, 20 minutes time on ice, no points, -1. Tavares, 18 minutes and 52 seconds time on ice, no points, -1. Robertson played 10 minutes, 1 goal, and he was a +2.
Oh god.
So it's funny. So you're just gonna hold people accountable for what? Like they were on the ice for a goal, and he was, and I don't know. It's just nuts. So he didn't get the ice time at 10 minutes, even though he was a +2 in the game, which is funny because it's skewed because the last one was at like 6 seconds or 9 seconds left in the game. But the point is he was a +1. So what kind of accountability is this that you're really actually seeing? He kind of makes a point, right? The guys still played their normal minutes. They all were down there of a -1. And they didn't lose any time. They weren't benched for any mistakes that they made because they go out there because they can provide for their mistakes. So this new accountability method really makes no sense. It kind of feels like you're not sending a proper message. And I have to ask, if this is Keefe's new method of accountability, who sits next?
I first want to just talk about like the sitting itself. And like Keefe makes two different choices when he's a coach. One is when he's in his office sitting there talking to all of the other coaches, and there's the other guy who is addicted to winning games and stands behind the bench. And so when he's in his behind the bench mode, he doesn't care about accountability as much as he does when he's sitting in his office. And so like game time, like he wants to put the Matthews Marner line out. Like he wants to win this game. He's not necessarily thinking about a turnover. He's thinking about like what Mitch Marner can do next to score a goal, right? But then he sits down in his office and talks to everybody and looks back on game tape. And that's when he decides that, accountability. And that's when he says something in the media, or his last decision was to bench, brain fart, David Kampf. I'm sick, everyone. Just so I'm a little sick.
CB's champing
foggy.
through.
Yeah.
So yeah, where was I? Oh yeah. So like, yeah, I think it's just a guy, he makes different decisions at different times, just you see two different versions of Sheldon Keefe, and sometimes he gets in his own way of just wanting to win a game versus a lot of coaches will sit a guy for like an entire period. Like Robert Thomas gets sit all the time, even though he's the best player on the St. Louis Blues. But they're just like, there's more accountability there, right? Like Jordan Kyrou, he's the same thing. They like just in the news, it's come out about them sitting. That's why I'm bringing them up. But yeah, like it's just not something that he ever thinks about, I think, when he's actually playing. Maybe they'll miss a shift. But after that, it's back to win. So whether or not he's going to do this to someone else, like not a chance. I feel like this is just blown way out of proportion now. Even like, I think that like, I don't have the same opinions as some people. I think it was fine that he bench Keefe bench Camp, even though he was on a streak, right? So like it's not like he was Phil Kessel like trying to be number one.
Well, not yet.
Yeah, but like he's at like over 100th ranked. I bet
yeah.
I know it's a streak. It's fine.
It still counts.
Yeah, I just feel like he's not like a player that's on a top line and you're benching him. He's like a fourth line guy and you're benching him, and it sucks. I do agree. But I think this whole thing's been blown out of proportion, and no one else is being benched unless it's just a swap of the top or the bottom defenseman or Bobby McMahon gets pulled out and for someone else that no one will cry about. So, but I don't see anyone. Keefe is probably going to walk on eggshells like he normally does after a big media stint. We'll probably get, short media scrums from him. He won't say much. He'll just skirt around the question now. I'd be surprised if we get anything else from him.
Yeah, right. So that's all I got for the Leafs. My last thought on that is it just felt like David Kampf being scratched wasn't good for the team, wasn't good for David Kampf, and it made no sense logistically. It really felt like a guy making a move for the sake of making a move. So that was my biggest problem with it.
Yeah.
All right, so now it's time for...
North of the Blue Line.
Okay, so... we'll hit for the half a minute here.
Sure.
All right. So the Ottawa Senators have appointed a GM and hired a vice president, a senior vice president of hockey operations, and a president of hockey operations in Dave Poulin. So the new GM is Steve Staios. He went out of the way and he said, you know what, I'm going to hire myself, just like Kyle Dubas did in Pittsburgh. He said, I will be the best general manager. So that's the job he's going to take. The president of hockey operations will be Dave Poulin, who we know from TSN, who is an opinionated mind and will certainly be interesting to see the moves that he implements and has a part of making in on the Ottawa Senators. And then they have Ryan Bonus has been appointed the team's associate general manager. So big moves in Ottawa, and congratulations to Poulin getting off TV and actually going to work for a team. He's worked for a team before. He was a head coach at Notre Dame for years. I'm not sure if he had any assistant coaching or anything like that. I couldn't find it, but I do know that he was a head coach at Notre Dame for a few years. So good for him, right? That's pretty awesome. Wouldn't it be cool if we got to go work for a team?
That's a far stretch. I didn't know we were going there.
No, I know. I'm stretching.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
possibilities.
what I have for checking in on the Ottawa Senators. Montreal has the craziest story that we have to talk about, and I hope you guys both watched this video.
I did.
Montreal scored a goal the other night after Tampa Bay thought the play was dead. So
Hilarious.
Somebody shoots the puck on Montembeault, and he makes a save, which we all would expect to be a play that's blown dead. It's right in his chest.
Yeah.
It's frozen. So then he draws.
Seemed like it.
No whistle had gone, but the music had started playing. The team, the Montreal Canadiens, still kept playing the puck, and I can't remember, I think it was Kovacevic, or skated it up the ice, and he just fired it at the opposing net because Vasilevsky's in the corner thinking it's a dead play. The puck goes in the back of the net.
He's skating around.
Yeah, he's skating around, just messing around in the back end.
Yeah.
And it goes in the net, and it's called a good goal. So that's absolutely bonkers. I've never seen anything like that before in my entire life.
Yeah.
I have to wonder whose fault at this point is it? After the DJ plays the music, is it Vasi's fault for leaving the net? Is it the player's fault for not recognizing and staying on the ice? Is it the ref's fault for not blowing the whistle? Or Mike McKenna, former NHL goalie, has a tweet with an idea that says, you know whose fault this is? The in-house DJ. DJ Itchy Finger on the jams started playing music despite not hearing a whistle.
100%.
So you think if game operations takes over and plays music, the play is dead. A lot of the times the players can't even hear the whistle, and they just assume the play is dead when they hear the music.
Yeah.
So whose fault is this? And is it the refs? Is it the DJ? Is it his fault? Sounds like it's his fault. Sounds like he dropped the ball.
I got to go with that. If quick answer, I would say that sounds like it, because that is an immediate reaction. You see players going off, guys skating to the bench. As soon as you hear like doo, 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 the music starts, like lights are flashing, like stuff's going, like, oh yeah, play's dead. They skate off. They definitely didn't hear a whistle because no whistle went, but they had that reaction. So I'd have to say the DJ.
This is the ref's fault. I mean, like, it just shouldn't have been allowed. I understand that the DJ played music when the whistle wasn't, but he's not involved in the actual play at all. We have to understand that it'd be like saying if the fans were too loud, it's the fans' fault. And no, like, it's the ref's job to control the game. And so if the reason that these players aren't paying attention is because of something outside of the control of the game, then you call the play dead. I mean, if the guys are just skating off and there's no reason for it, then like, yeah, let that goal count. But like, as soon as they had gotten to like half, they should have just called the play and been like, no, like no one's playing here. Like, and it's not for any other reason than something out of our control.
But we see
So,
that in like football, like guys faking plays and the other team's just like walking away, like, okay, we haven't started yet. And it's like, no, they did start it. And they're like running down the field now. And like sneaky things like that have happened and it's all legal.
But not because of the music
why would
being too loud.
Right, but why would he blow the whistle
trickery.
for guys just like skating down half ice? Like if it's still in play, what reason does he have to blow the whistle?
If they played like if they were doing like drop the puck and one of the centermen did the whole look over there and the guy looked and they dropped the puck and then they went and skated down and scored.
Okay, that's a little
that
different.
would be the equivalent of that in
Who
my
was
mind.
that?
Yeah. It'd be like, well, I mean, he dropped the puck. What?
No, it's
Yes,
not
yeah.
like that. Obviously, it's not the comparison I'm making whatsoever. I'm saying trick plays that there is no reason to blow the whistle because there wasn't. What reason? If the puck's in play, why would you blow the whistle as a ref?
Because
The
no
puck's
one's
in play.
playing because there's the music.
That's not a reason. That's not a
Because
rule.
because
Show me
the
that
ref
rule.
made a
Show me
mistake.
that rule.
Because it should have been blown dead. This is what he's implying. The play was held in his chest for so long, it should have been blown dead. And the whole rest of the arena, including the in-game operators, thought that, okay, it's dead. The players thought it was dead. The goalie thought it was dead. Even the Montreal Canadiens players were stunned when they're like, wait,
There's
keep
times
playing
where they
this?
don't blow the whistle, and now they have the rule. It's the intent to blow the whistle. Apparently, he didn't have the intent to blow the whistle because
Yeah,
there was no
he didn't
whistle.
have
There
the
was no intent. So
But he should
And that's
have.
what he
I don't
said.
know.
So
That's
he
what I'm
could have
saying. It's
corrected
the ref's
himself.
fault.
He could
I
have
don't
corrected
know.
himself about 2 or 3 strides away after the guy starts taking it up ice and went,
Coulda.
boo, boo, boo. Oh, yeah, no, it was a whistle. Sorry, I'm late. I had the intent to blow the whistle. I didn't get the whistle blown and whatever. He should have stopped it then, and I don't think the goal should have counted.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to say, like, it's a little bit on the players, though. It's not on Vasi. He's 200 feet away. Right? If he can't hear the whistle all the times because of the screaming fans and he takes music as a cue, that's one thing, right? He's a goalie. He's all the way at the opposite end. It's not on him. The players that were in that end, though, just giving up and walking away when they didn't hear a whistle and nobody heard a whistle, like, I don't know. I think you just kind of you got to wonder a little bit whose fault it actually is. I have to agree with Mike McKenna a little bit, saying it's definitely got something to do with the DJ playing the music before he should have, because he's probably got a responsibility to listen for the whistle. He didn't hear the whistle, and he's like, "Oh crap, I wasn't paying attention." Hits the music, and then all of a sudden, I screwed up. And whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they'll just call it dead. Maybe they'll just call it, "Oh, that's a goal. Oh well, I'll get my things." Like, you know, like, you think he's fired? Like, he's like, "Yeah, sorry, boss. See ya."
Yeah, whoops.
Yeah, I mean, I think with anything with like producing something, like you have to make your best judgment, right? And like because of the fans and everything else, he's not going to hear every whistle. So like he's probably more than once a game. I'd say a lot of the time he's just like, okay, play's dead. Okay, yep. No, he didn't hear a whistle, but he's just like looking at it and like, yep, players are skating to the bench. Okay. So like I would definitely accept like that it's the player on the players. I just don't accept it's on the DJ. Like he's not involved in the game at all. It's on the players or the ref, but I don't agree that it's on the DJ at all.
Oh, I think if it's maybe it's you don't want to blame the DJ, but him playing the music, that definitely
Yeah.
Sparked reaction.
Yeah.
Okay,
that
yeah, maybe I
sparked the
should rephrase
reaction.
my words. Yeah.
It's maybe we can't blame him, but yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely caused this whole mess.
Every
In
fire
any
needs
So
other
a
maybe the
spark.
players, yeah, the players
Yeah.
being not so, I guess, focused on the real play at hand and watching the ref. Did he blow the whistle? Is it covered? Watching the puck. They just heard music and went off. So maybe it is their fault more so than the DJ. But yeah, combination of factors here led to a funny play.
Can't believe it
To just
counted.
take a little zag here, I just have a thought that like I've always wanted them to play music while the players are playing, like an ongoing. And so like I feel like that's my opinion, is that the music shouldn't be included into the play at all, and they should just be playing music at any point in time.
Wow. That would be
Yeah.
Do you mean just in the, like, you can hear it on the broadcast, or just in the arena, but maybe you can pick it up a little on the broadcast,
Like you can just pick it, like the level of the that
like
you
the arena
can for
music?
like
Okay,
a
yeah, for
the
between
arena
plays.
noise mics, yeah.
Sure.
But like people in the
Okay.
crowd could maybe get a little more pumped up or something. They do it in
That'd
basketball,
be
I'm pretty sure
interesting.
sometimes. I'm pretty sure basketball, like the music, like will go into play more often.
Couldn't you fade into like a non-jam song when the other team's like on like the power play? Like just like fade into like
Yeah.
a slow ballad, and they're like, "Come on, like how are we supposed to get energy here?"
Yeah. Now we're including the DJ into the play again, and now I'm
Yes,
not okay
exactly.
with it.
In which case, it would definitely be his fault.
Yes, now it's his fault.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a great conversation. That's all that I have. So why don't we move on? That's it for North of the Blue Line. We are going to jump into Colorado Avalanche next. And the Colorado Avalanche beat the San Jose Sharks 3-1 on what day is it? Sunday. That's Christmas break for you, hey guys.
Yeah.
On Sunday, it's yesterday, but that was Sunday. Was yesterday. They beat them 3-1. We had goals from Nichushkin, Rantanen, and Manson, and McKinnon had 2 assists. But the big story that I had was Georgiev had a tough game in Arizona, and Bednar has stuck with him. He has not wavered, and there's never any worry about, like it is in Toronto, I guess. They just say, no, Georgie's the guy. He might have a tough stretch. He's still the guy. He's the guy.
Yep.
So tonight, that night that they played the Sharks, Georgiev would pass Jose Theodore on the franchise games played leaderboard and is now 12th in all-time games played for the Colorado Avalanche.
Nice.
But back to that Arizona game. After the tough game in Arizona, Bednar explained why he went back to Georgiev against the Blues. He says part of it is that he's rested. I read that and I went, oh, so it's just because he's the fresh guy. Then he continues, he's our starter. He's rested, and we needed to try to make that a successful road trip. We challenged our team in a bunch of different areas, especially on the defensive side of things. Your most important defender is your goalie. So if we're going to challenge our team, I'd like to try to give him a chance to respond. And he did, in a big way.
Yeah.
So lots of chatter around Avs Nation that just in case maybe they need a different look in net, and maybe not to take over Georgiev's spot, but more of a Georgiev-Frankie combo. Do you think that Georgiev needs a backup? Now, last year, he was up 19 points from this year in his save percentage. His goals against average was down half a goal. He's 5-5 in his last 10 starts, and in those last 10 starts, he's let 5 in against Calgary, 4 to Ottawa, and 5 to Arizona. Some pretty lowly teams. So do you think that maybe you shouldn't be stressing so much on having the one guy play so many games, and that another goalie may be beneficial there out in Denver?
I mean, I see the benefits of taking a little bit of, the weight off his shoulders, off Georgie's shoulders, but that's kind of the way he responds. And I mean, we can see it in times like that when he has tough stretches. This team pulls out of it. I've never felt like, even when he has tough stretches, that it's solely on him. When he has those tough stretches, it's when we've just suffered a loss and have had to switch up the lineups, or we've, been experiencing other players just being really slow and not putting up points at all. And it's like, how can a goalie, he can't score goals. If the other guys aren't scoring goals, he's got to do his best back there. And Georgie has had some tough games, yes, where he's let in a lot. But I think I'm right with that team and that mentality that it's a bump in the road. I think we just keep giving this guy the big starts. If he's rested, ready to go, he is the starter, like every time. But yeah, I mean, on the back-to-backs, on the maybe after I don't know, let's say the Prosvetov, the backup goalie, I think he's a good backup goalie. If he comes off a good game, like on a back-to-back, puts up a shutout or something, really good game, maybe play him again the next. I think they did that once before when he was coming in, and there was a bit of chatter that, is he going to steal the starter spot? And I just thought that was all really dumb because no, he was never going to steal Georgie's starter spot.
No, and you wonder if maybe they had another guy in there because they like doing that and they want to give Prosvetov
Yeah,
that shot. But maybe if they had another capable goalie, then they would do that, right? Maybe they would put that other guy in and give him those extra starts and take a little bit off of Georgie. So I just
Yeah.
kind of wonder, maybe maybe Colorado might be in the
goalie market.
like they be goalie market. That's the word. The market for a goalie, just
Yeah.
like a lot of other teams in the NHL. The thing is,
Yeah.
it's thin. It's tough to find.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
the
I keep
reason that
seeing
they
names come around, and I'm like, oh, would he work as an Av? And it's like these goalies that are getting put on waivers and stuff too, and it's like, do we pick that? No, I don't think so. And all this stuff, and these names come around, and I don't know. I think Prosvetov's a good guy right now. If something comes up in this thin goalie market and we can jump on it, sure. But what do we move? Is it worth it? I don't know.
I think with the
Well,
position Colorado's in, like it's not worth overpaying for anything. And I think
Yeah.
you're not going to underpay for anything at the moment. So I would say
Right.
that everyone might want a lot of teams probably want to upgrade on the backup, but are you willing to pay for? And I don't think that it's worth it at the moment, the position that they're in.
well, I think an interesting take could be you look into a goalie who might make too much money for what they're playing right now, but might be a good tandem option to play with Georgie. And maybe you move a guy like Ryan Johansson out the door after you
Yeah.
trade for Elias Lindholm.
I wouldn't mind that.
And that gives you $4 million more. Ryan Johansson, on the season, his Corsi for is 48%, his shots for is 48%, his expected goals for is 45%, high danger chances for 45%, his actual goals for is 50%. He's living on the edge. He's got 4 points in his last 10 games. He makes $4 million this year and next. What
Yeah.
do you do with Ryan Johansson?
It's too much to pay for what he's doing for us right now and what he's not doing for us. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but out the door would be a good one if we can do that in some way. Get someone else to take on that $4 million.
Yeah,
Maybe take
this is saying blockbuster to me because if they're getting Lindholm and they need a goalie, Markstrom's a goalie, and if you get him at 50% retained, then all of that
Or
fits
not.
in within the cap that Colorado has. So especially with Johansson going out the door, so
Right.
I think if Markstrom would probably look like what's his cap hit? I think he's like 5.5. Well, and I
Jeez.
just had this up. So like
6,
yeah,
eh?
at $3 million for a backup that has real experience and can maybe do a tandem, and maybe on like the end of his contract too, looks really good as a tandem goalie versus the starter. And he's
Injured right now too, though. Markstrom. He just went he was
just
day to
went out?
day and
He's
then out,
back,
and
I
then now
thought.
he's injured reserve. No, they just put him on IR.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
He was back. Yeah, it was something with his finger. He had fractured his finger, I think, before. He was back playing pretty well. And then he went out after one of the games, and I was getting a notification because I have him on my fantasy team that his status has changed to day, and then to out, and now IR. So
Well, I mean, that could only be like a couple weeks, right? And then maybe he's
Hopefully,
back,
yeah.
So yeah.
yeah,
But yeah,
And maybe that
maybe a
might be the
blockbuster.
perfect opportunity, though, right? If him being on the IR.
but is he injury
not really
prone?
working
I
out.
mean, he's been
Well,
in and
what if-
out and in and out.
So you're swapping out Ryan Johansson, right? And you're trying to get Elias Lindholm back. That still leaves you with $4 million. Then you're taking Markstrom at 6, but you're not just going to get that. You're probably going to have to trade another player. You guys don't really have the picks to throw out
Yeah.
the door like that, I don't think, to make that work. So you're going to maybe any player that comes off is more money that you're not going to need retained on Jacob Markstrom, right? And maybe you
Yeah.
want to take a gamble on your second line center and it didn't work out. Sorry. Maybe you want to take a gamble on your goalie instead. And maybe they get him retained like a Matt Murray thing where he makes $4.5 million, right?
Right.
4.8. And then you trade, even like if it's a younger prospect like Malinsky who makes $850 out the door,
Bowen
right?
Byram.
Bowen Byram, who's like, what does he make? 1 point something right now? Is he making? I'm not sure what his contract is right now, but I know it's lower. That would facilitate right there a lot of that retention, which makes the price of it going down. especially if they're interested in a guy like Ryan Johansson. But like, I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they
Calgary
aren't.
needs
Because
players, so I think they're interested in whoever wants to be there. So, and I think
guess
Bowen
so.
Byram carries a lot of value still, even though he's
Oh,
had
yeah.
kind of this rocky start in the NHL, like mostly because of injury, but
Yeah.
this year because of a little bit of his play as well. So, I think a lot of teams would be clamoring for a guy like Bowen Byram. So that would be
Yeah.
worth a lot in a trade for sure.
Yeah, he's been touted to be like a breakout guy this year, but it just hasn't quite been there exactly. But
And opportunity slim in Colorado for defensemen. Like,
oh god,
you guys
yeah,
are
when you've got-
overflowing
yeah.
with them. So,
Yeah.
honorable mention to Sammy G, who just returned to the lineup.
yeah, Sammy G, yeah.
So he could also be a piece, and he's $5 million. That would right there, if you dealt with that, you gave them, say, Sammy G, Ryan
Not worth
Johansson.
as much, but worth a lot for sure.
Sammy G, Ryan Johansson, and pick. You might get Lindholm and Markstrom. And like I can't see it being much more than that, right? Like I think somewhere in there you could get something like Lindholm's almost done, right? So they're gonna want like a first round pick. So if you give a first round pick, then you give those other two guys for Markstrom. I think they might be willing to shed the contract because they have this kid coming up and they have Vladar as a capable backup. And I just don't know. Markstrom's not really been paying dividends for them for the $6 million he's taking off the cap for them right now. They're
True.
a rebuilding team, and maybe it might take 2 picks to make that happen, or a pick and a prospect. It'd probably be a blockbuster deal. Absolutely be a blockbuster deal. But I think there's something to think about there. That
Yep.
Lindholm going there, maybe Johansson going back, maybe they're involved in a goalie thing. Certainly something to think about. The last thing I got to talk about on the Avs, Drouin has been absolutely going crazy in his last 10 games. He's got 8 points in his last 10 games. What's happened to Drouin, Ted? Why has he gotten so good?
I know, quite the uptick, eh? From previous play that was not good. I don't know if it's just a chemistry thing, or what. Finding his groove with this team, finally finding the right lineup of guys to play with. I suggested the struggle line a while ago, which was the 3 guys who were struggling. We ended up getting rid of one of them to Seattle.
Right.
No more Tatar, which is nice. I've been liking what we've been able to do with the lineup and having guys like Golifson in there and Kivi Ranta. You know, I like the bottom 6. But yes, I mean, I don't know, man. I think I gotta say,
is it where he's
it's-
in the lineup? Is it like, has he been playing?
I don't know. I
differently?
think
Is
it's-
he skating better.
Who's
It's
on the
hard to
top
say
line
'cause-
now, right?
he's been on and off there, but Val still makes appearances up there too. They kind of, I don't know, they kind of juggle around a little bit, and maybe that's what he needs is like not being consistently on a line. And like we talk about a lot with the Leafs is, you know, a guy being like the lead guy on the line, or you know, the guy who's kind of a supporting role on this guy's line. And Drouin definitely cannot be the guy on the line. He is not
Oh, yeah.
the guy. He has to find the line that he supports well, and playing with a guy who's being a guy like Nathan McKinnon. That was the whole thing, was get him to play with McKinnon, you know, rehash that chemistry they had back in Halifax. But it hadn't happened. Maybe it is now. I don't know.
So situationally kind of thing. Like when he's playing
yeah.
with different lines situationally, that's where he's finding his most success.
It's
This
got to
guy-
be it.
This guy hates me because I was like the guy just bashing him so hard. And now
Yeah.
he goes on an 8-point streak on 10 games. So
you pick
I
him up?
decided to add him on my lineup, right, in my fantasy team. And then he doesn't do anything.
I was a little jelly. Yeah, no, I know. I was
got
glad
0
that I
points,
was
like one
Serves
shot
you
on
right.
that. I was like,
Yeah.
he hates me. That's fine. I'll leave him alone now.
yeah. CP picked me up. Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah.
I
he
can
definitely
take a
is
little
watching
break.
for that. Yeah. CP from
Yeah.
Split the Defense. There's no way I'm going to play good tonight.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, Jonathan. Appreciate that. All right. So that is all I have for the Avalanche. Do you have any final thoughts on Drouin?
I just hope he keeps that kind of pace up. I hope you know, that's what I wanted to see from the start. It'll make me look smart too, because I said it was going to work out. So keep going.
Keep going, Drouin. Let's see more points. We
Yeah.
want to see more success. I think that might be a team That's a team on paper that looks not as like threatening, I guess, as the Leafs were supposed to look on paper, and on the ice they look twice as threatening. So it's
Right.
crazy to see how that team is.
Yeah.
That may be a team that'd be worth adding to, moving out a piece that isn't working. And they're not afraid to do it. They already dropped Thomas Tatar. So we'll
Yep.
see if the Avs are in on making any moves, but things are still going decent over there. And it's fun to check in every now and again. So that's
For
it
sure.
for Avs. But now we've got
What the puck is happening?
So we got World Juniors going on right now. We got Spangler Cup action going on right now. Well, let's start up with the World Juniors.
Yeah.
Canada is set to face Czech Republic, and that is 8:30 a.m. Tuesday morning. So if you're listening to this on your way to work, you were missing the game, like I will be. If you've listened to this after 8:30 a.m. Tuesday, then the game has already been played. Go Canada, go!
Yeah.
Leading the charge for Team Canada, 17-year-old Macklin Celebrini.
He's so
It
fun to
is
watch.
Oh yeah.
it is like that picture of the trailer park house with the Lamborghini in the driveway, and that is Celebrini on Team Canada. He's absolutely above and beyond the best player on that team, and it shows. He's the only Canadian in top 10 scoring with 4 goals, 4 assists, and I'd like to repeat, that kid is 17.
Yeah.
The other Canadian that's top 10 in something is currently Carson Rakoff, who kind of got snubbed for minutes earlier in the tournament. But as
Right.
they've let him come in, he has been outstanding. He's an 18-year-old, currently of the Kitchener Rangers and second-round draft pick of the Seattle Kraken. Both him and Celebrini are top 10 in plus minus. Celebrini at 6th at a plus 6, and Rakoff at plus 5. So that Carson Rakoff kid, he is definitely going to get more time. He was apparently a breakout in the OHL, and he looks great on the ice for a kid that was coming into the tournament as the 13th forward. I'm excited to see what he brings. The Leafs have a couple of prospects in at the World Junior Tournament. Captain Fraser Minton has got 1 goal, 1 assist in 3 games played. Fraser Minton at the World Junior Tournament is very underwhelming for me, in my opinion. He's not, I kind of thought he was underwhelming in camp too, but maybe that's his game. Maybe we just talk about him so much we expect him to be breakout, but the kind of game that he plays allows him to control. He makes a lot of good decisions, right? I see him do good things. I also see him give a pizza up the ice every now and again. So it's hard for me to say what his exact role is because he doesn't look like a pop to me, and I don't know how he got in NHL games this year after watching him in the tournament thus far.
He's playing the wrong position. That's the problem. Is he's not a left winger, and this is a shutdown to centerman. So like they're asking him to do something he's not comfortable with. He's not used to. Like I know he's a smart player, but it doesn't mean that he can just go and be the guy that digs pucks out and makes becomes the grinder on a line. Like this is a guy that plays through intelligence. So I feel like they've taken away his best skill by putting him in the position he has. But at the same time, like, they've kind of do have some successful lines down the lineup. So to put him in, maybe wouldn't want him to play like, on the 4th line center. So I feel like he might not show up too well, but maybe it's just good experience for him. And, he's never going to be a left winger, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I guess that makes sense. They're different positions. You are more freewheeling, constantly thinking, more or less of a stop and start, getting your spot. Centerman compared to a winger role. You're right. I just am a little underwhelmed. Another guy who I really liked in preseason, who's been seriously underwhelming to me, gets a lot of opportunity, but definitely needs development, is Easton Cowan. He scored an empty net goal against Germany after he shot it once and it bounced off the net post.
This was
and then
funny.
He put it in. His first attempt. So that was his first point of the tournament, and he was the last Canadian forward to get a point in this tournament so far. Easton Cowan, I really, really liked when I saw him in a Leafs jersey. He's a dog. He's dog, and he was a dog in this tournament still. He's on the 4th line, though, not playing a whole ton. and he's not. Honestly, like I don't want to go ahead and make me these comparisons because Ted called us out so far, but like Zach Hyman, right? He's really, really doggy on the puck. Like he's low and in and fast, and he's fast and he can get out fast, but he's got hands of stone and he can't make a pass. He keeps passing it off other guys' skates and like, poor kid. Needs development, but I certainly see the work ethic there, and I hope he can put it all together.
I think this is I'm almost giving the exact same answer as I did for Fraser Minton. He's playing in the wrong position, because like we've seen that he does have that like dog mentality, like a Hyman does. But also when he's playing with better skilled players in the OHL, like he puts up lots of points. So I think that'll be his role in the NHL. Is he'll be a complementary player to a good line. And so I'm not too worried. Again, if like he was playing where Fraser Minton is playing right now, he'd probably look a lot better. So I think just a little bit of it's always the thing with these international competitions is that like you're always fitting guys in, right? Like
Lots
there was
of
a time
talent,
when Sidney Crosby played on the wing for Team Canada, right? Because
Yeah.
Bergeron was on the line. So I mean, it's these things happen, and not all guys are going to fit in perfectly. So I mean, I probably shouldn't give the same answer, but it is my opinion.
Well, things will be a little bit different, I believe, because Connor Geekie, I'm not sure if he'll return to the next game.
Yeah, that hit was something.
Yeah, like what was it, 7 seconds into the game, he goes and charges, gives a hit to the head to the opposing player, and then he is tossed from the game. And he, on camera, says, "Why did you take me out of the game, sir?" That's what you saw him say.
Uh-huh. I think it was, what the something was that
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
What the F for? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Maybe people will get a little bit of shift around. I'd like to see the Leaf prospects shine a little bit more. The only thing that I note is that I remember looking at Connor McDavid. My first real watching of Connor McDavid was at World Juniors. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, he's not bad. He's good. But yeah, he's a good player. Yeah. Like, and then you see him come and play, and it's like, holy shit. That tournament doesn't always show you. I mean, look at the Montreal Canadiens and Juraj Slavkovsky. He dominated that tournament. They took him from that, and he is not working out so far. He's still young, obviously, but
Well, he's having a few good games recently, very recently.
My point is that you see
been,
other guys who aren't so good in that tournament who come into the NHL and make and
it's
they
it's
make
definitely
a
not a
shot
tell.
right away. They're very competitive for their spots. So I'm not sure what to take very much from these tournaments, but it would be nice to see the Leafs guys be a little more noticeable and exciting when they're on the ice. Moving on, PWHL started today, and the three of us watched that game separately, but it was a lot of fun to sit and chat about it then, and I would like to chat about it now, and I have some notes about what we talked about. So the PWHL announced a 3-2-1-0 point system and an innovative shorthanded rule. If a team scores shorthanded, the penalized player is freed from the box.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So no
that could be really fun.
If the opposing team or the other team, no matter when a goal is scored, the player that's in the box gets taken out. That's amazing.
That's right.
That's a completely different rule and very interesting to the game.
Yeah,
I've heard this suggested a lot for the NHL, right? As along with going back to the rule of where power plays don't end when you score it either. So yeah, it's cool that they've picked one, and like this is obviously the not so volatile one, but that used to be the rule that power plays didn't end after a penalty. It was only because Montreal just had an unreal power play. They were scoring multiple times on every power play. So we can't allow this anymore. So like that's actually why it got changed. So
that's amazing.
Makes a whole lot of sense. So what do you guys think of the 3-2-1-0 point system? So 3 for a regulation win, 2 for an overtime win, 1 for an overtime loss, 0 for a regulation loss. Do you think that would be better for the NHL? Do you think that they have it right? I feel like they do. I've been begging for this.
Tough to imagine it, I think, changing in the NHL. But I do like that format for certain tournaments I've seen it in and other things. It's a cool way to break up the standings and the stats and all that stuff between the teams. So yeah, I like that. I guess it'd be cool if the NHL did it, but I don't know how ready I am to see it there or how ready the NHL is to make that. But maybe one day.
I think I like it because it forces like the last 5 minutes are more important now, and you're not just giving up to just like get the same amount
Like
of
ride
points,
out
right?
the
Yeah,
overtime.
we're like guaranteeing the one, but like you're losing one now. You know, you might be guaranteeing yourself at least one, but you're not. You know, you're losing out too. So I like it. I see same as you, Ted. I'm not sure that the NHL is gonna. The NHL is so tough to change anything. So, but I do like it better.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's awesome. So we watched the first PWHL game today, which was New York City versus Toronto. And Ella Shelton opens PWHL League scoring with the first regular season goal in the league's history. Then New York City went on to crush Toronto 4-0.
Yeah.
We all thought, oh, there's going to be so many opportunities, and none of them cashed. There was a lot of shots, a lot of opportunities. Toronto looks like a tough team. They're defensively good. They just need some sort of spark with that forward group, in my opinion. They looked really, really composed today. What they couldn't make was a breakout play. Coming back and composing themselves and getting into their defensive structure and breaking up plays themselves, they were great. Very strong on the puck. Very tough team. Lots of hits laid today, which something about, apparently it's a non-contact league. You're not supposed to do that, but like they just let them play. Like there was some bangs today.
It was legit.
Like, oh, it was legit.
The women, the players themselves asked for this, where they wanted a higher contact
physical
league.
game.
So it
like
was
it.
awesome.
Awesome.
I was just like, this is the best women's hockey I've ever seen in my life. Like,
it was great.
I fully enjoyed it.
Yeah, just stepping up on each other, and like the one just got late. I'm pretty sure it said no open ice hits. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I saw an open ice hit.
A couple of them.
Yeah, Willoughby got stood up right in the middle of the ice there, and that New York team though, as we said, Toronto looked composed, looked good, but the goalie Schroeder, that shutout, she was unreal. Solid. Yeah,
and like you brought up, Webby, she's got those Vasilevsky eyes where. Like she is dialed in, you know. Like,
focus.
I was very impressed with her.
She's like talking to her teammates, and she's like, no. It's like she's high on cocaine.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had a guy that and you see him at the
go.
bar, and he comes up, and he's all coked out. Hey man, and just going. His eyes are just fucking just like focused on fucking everything. Like he could just like bam with a fly out of the air right now. I don't know. Nuts. He has those eyes. And Vasilevsky is one of the only goalies in the league that I see that consistently has those scary, crazy eyes. But I remember Roberto Luongo having those eyes, especially because his eyes are like a little closer together. He was really crazy when he got into that goalie thing. He just
Vasi actually does it less now. Like it might be, I haven't watched him as much since he's come back from injury, but in the playoffs last year, they did a comparison of like Vasi like in 2023 versus in 2022, and he wasn't doing the crazy eyes as much. So maybe he hasn't been as good. So maybe he needs to get back to his crazy eyes.
Back to the crazy eyes. Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to get into, which might be our last thing talking here. Yeah, and it looks like it's our last time talking here. We had a great time watching this PWHL game. I'm just going to run through quickly. The arena was small to me. I had no idea it was in Maple Leaf Gardens. It was really nice to see everybody in the broadcast. Great broadcast. At the beginning, I wasn't sure what you guys were talking about. Later on, I totally agreed. A lot more physical than I thought. Lack of chemistry on Toronto's side. More stuff to talk about, absolutely, next time we talk about these games. But yeah, Toronto lost 4-0 to New York City. So for today, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us on Split the Defense Hockey Podcast. Please make sure to like this podcast on whatever platform you're watching or listening on, and subscribe on YouTube. Rate us 5 stars anywhere else. Find us on X at STDP Hockey and search for Split the Defense everywhere else to stay up to date with what we're doing. See you next time. Peace.
Peace to the CJAI listeners too. Peace.
You've been listening to
Split the Defense.
a Toronto Maple Leafs, Colorado Avalanche, and NHL podcast. Hosted by Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans.
Split the Defense.
Is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas.